Recently, I've been thinking, what is the ideal way to invest your Stellar Jades in this game? Let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. I'd like to preface this video by saying, I am not trying to say, just pull better or make better Stellar Jades decisions, and if you can't clear, well then, you should have pulled for XYZ. That is not what I'm trying to say here. Trust me, my account is very much just built around characters that I personally like to play. And obviously, the ideal way to pull in Honkai Star Rail is by pulling for who you like. There is no other way around it. That is the best way to pull, by getting the characters that you personally care about. I'm more so just thinking about all of this right now because I'm just so puzzled as to where I'm supposed to go with my own account because it's in such a bit of a random, messy position right now, and I'm just kind of here like, oh my god. What, have I just invested in all the wrong stuff, I guess? Which got me thinking then, okay then, what is the ideal way to pull in this game supposed to be? I'm not saying that this is the way that you're supposed to play, I'm more just trying to think, alright then, what is the optimal way that someone is supposed to deal with this crazy meta without spending a whole lot of money all the time? Mostly just food for thought. And I'd also really like to hear the opinions of people who've been playing this game for a long time, but have been playing consistently for a while now. Can you tell me what you personally do to keep up with this stuff? Or do you just kind of say, screw it, I'm just gonna pull the characters I like at this stage, it's not worth it anymore? I'm kind of at the stage where I'm like, it's not worth it anymore, I just came back for 2 hot guys that I like, simple as that. But to reiterate, you are not pulling wrong or anything like that. So here we are, a Rare Juice Star Rail video. I usually don't make these very frequently just because I'm very frustrated with the game right now, but I'm actually in the mood to make one, which is shocking. I've been playing the game in my spare time recently. I came back specifically for Mightimos, and I've done the 3.1 story up to the point where his arc concludes, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was really good. So now I'm locked in for both him and Kevin. I am cooked. But yeah, since I've been getting back into things, I've been just speed tuning some random units, fixing up some teams, and trying to clear this ridiculously hard MOC, or at least attempting to, and just trying and playing around with random game modes. And it sort of got me thinking, what is the ideal way to pull in this game? The reason I ask is because my account is in this really specifically awkward position. I'm at a state where it's not like pulling Robin or Tribby or any of those would save me, and it's not like pulling any past DPSs or any past Eidolons at this point would probably save me. I believed what I needed was new damage dealers, so then I thought about who are the actually good damage dealers in this game. We have the Herda, we have Aglaya, Rappa, and I want to say at a stretch Acheron, but she's only good with Jiao Cho is the thing. Though with that being said, the others are also quite tied to their 5-star support, so I don't want to, enact any double standards here. But I'd say that those first 3 are probably the best DPSs that we currently have access to in the game right now. And they're all relatively new. So I know what you're thinking. Obviously the best way to pull then is just to get every single new DPS. Full stop, you'll win the game then. But I was thinking, is that actually optimal? Or is it more optimal to save up and just invest a lot into one specific team? Though I found myself questioning that too, because that is what I did for my Dot team. And listen, I get that that's supposed to be the absolute worst archetype in the game right now, but I find it kind of absurd that I can't clear when my Black Swan is near perfection. I don't want to say literally at perfection because there's still things here and there that I could improve, but I'm using an attack body with enough EHR in substats. And okay, I don't have 155 speed exactly, but I have E1 Huohuo to cover for the rest of the speed. And she's E1S1, being driven by a 155 speed E0S1 Kafka, and I already mentioned the E1 Huohuo there. And yet this team is still not clearing endgame content, despite having a ridiculous amount of both Trailblaze power investment and Stellar Jades based investment. So then at that stage, what's the point of investing a whole lot of Stellar Jades into one specific team archetype that you really like, if it's just gonna fall off completely in even a couple of months from now? The reason I find this also interesting is because the structure that I'm used to is prioritizing the best supports, which is still generally true for Star Rail. You want to prioritize the really broken harmonies, and you would actually usually rather go vertical investment or rather high, whatever the currency is, based investment, where you pour all of limited currency into getting the absolute best character copies and limited weapons that you can for that specific team archetype. But I did that with DOT, and look where I am now. Now, the cool thing is that I did manage to end up clearing floor 11 last night. Whenever I speed tuned my Jing Yuan to my Sunday, that did end up making a big difference actually, and I also had recently built RMC and quite well at that in terms of speed and whatnot. But it's still so crazy to me that with my insane DOT investment, I still just can't get through the higher floors. It's kinda ridiculous. So then I was mulling it over. What exactly is the best way to get the best bang for your Stellar Jades in this game? Because there's either two options you can take. Either you just pull for every single new DPS and try to keep up with the changing mechanics, or you invest a lot into the quote-unquote big releases. When I say big releases, I'm talking about characters like Acheron, characters like Firefly, Castoris, and Kevin, those characters. Basically the MCs of each region. If you wait for them and you put a lot into them, then they're gonna end up being really good. Shoot, look at Sunday for example. He was a really big character in Penacony in terms of lore and story and stuff, and he ended up being absolutely busted. And the main way that I came to this conclusion is that in this cutthroat era with constant power creep and HP inflation and whatnot, a well-invested Acheron can still do decently alright, especially if you did end up getting that E2. So if you went vertical investment on that specific big release and you skipped all other characters surrounding, then you got rewarded for it in the long run. This concept in of itself isn't anything special. Other games will have these specific characters under this specific title or class where if you save for this specific character, they are absolutely going to serve you for a year minimum, and they are going to absolutely crush all content, and even whenever they start to fall off, they're still going to end up being pretty good for you. This meta just changes so quickly that I'm just sitting here like, okay, how is anyone supposed to realistically keep up with this? And that's the main way that I thought of that someone could realistically keep up with it all. Just invest a whole lot into the quote-unquote special characters that are coming out in that region. Another avenue which could potentially work is getting E1 or E2 on the really broken supports of that region. Like, for example, Robin is a character that has managed to survive the crazy power creep for ages now. Getting an E1 Robin, still a very strong pull even to this day. And she gets reruns quite frequently, because Hoyoverse knows that she's broken and that she's a must-have for like every account. Shame that I don't like her very much, therefore I don't have her and will not be getting her. And I will tell you this, I was absolutely punished during 2.x for not having pulled Robin. It felt like almost every non-break character coming out at the time synergized amazingly with her. She was best in slot in so many teams, and I swear after her release, my MOC clears got a whole lot tougher. Because if you have these really broken supports with absolutely busted buffs and their effects are really good for your characters, then that way, you're able to keep using your old units, and then drag them to the finish line with these really strong, busted harmonies and whatnot. I will say that mechanical knowledge does help too. Like, the reason that there's people that are able to do crazy Zilla clears even to this day when HP inflation is just at an all-time high, it's because they're very aware of the game mechanics, they know how to abuse, you know, certain turn order actions or boss actions or this or that, or they just generally know a lot and they know how to set things up. But the average player is just not doing that, man. Let's be realistic here for a minute. That is just not happening for most people. Another reason as to why I was thinking what even is the ideal way at this stage is, like I said, because of my account's weird position. Like, for example, I was considering pulling for Jiao Cho, because I was like, okay, let's get Jiao Cho, then my Acheron is going to be usable again. But wait, I don't have Acheron signature, so that's just a pretty wasted investment, and then getting Acheron signature at this stage, so long after her release, when there's probably better new DPSs coming up, then it just also feels like a waste. So it's more so a case of just waiting for the new best DPS, then getting the new best DPS's best supports, and just repeat the cycle on and on and on. It's very exhausting to keep up with, to be honest. Like, I've come back to the game a lot more casually. I'm not going to sweat the fact that I can't get the last 3 stars in MOC 12, man, because, dude, how am I supposed to with my account? Remember when the Swarm Disaster boss was designed for Imbibitor Lune? Brother, my Imbibitor is cooked against that thing. And because I'm pulling for Mighty Most immediately once he drops, it's like, okay, what's the point of fixing my Dunhung ill right now? There's no point in speed tuning him or fixing him or just doing anything to him because he's about to get replaced very soon. Now, I do know that the obvious answer to this question is that you just get every character and all their light cones and all their best Eidolons, but that's just not realistic. So because of that, you have to choose either 2 pathways. Either you go vertical investment on the absolute best releases, or you go horizontal investment on basically every new DPS. I think it's very frustrating that you have to pull so specifically and that you can't just invest into the team archetypes that you really want to invest into and just be reassured that they'll clear XYZ from now because you put in the appropriate amount of investment for them. Like, genuinely, they said they're gonna buff older units. I don't know how we're going to manage that in a way that's not going to, like, I don't even know. How are they going to do it? How are they gonna take my Kafka team and make it feel like it actually does damage again, you know? The meta right now is pretty much just based around did you pull for XYZ? Like, for example, I'm being punished for not having pulled the Herda and quite heavily because now I don't have any counter for the Bugman. I mean, okay, I'll have a counter for him soon when I pull for Mightymost, but the point still stands. Now, I've only just come back to the game recently, and I'm having a good time. I'm just enjoying myself farming my Jades up, you know, preparing for Mightymost's release, very excited for him. Looking forward to Kevin whenever he comes out in a couple of months, whenever that may be. But I do really hope that the whole power creep HP inflation thing does get sorted out soon, because it just makes it very hard to care about the kits of characters that are coming up, because obviously you're going to be able to beat story content no matter what. That's never going to be so difficult to the point where a casual player cannot complete it, because that is the casual content. But it makes it really hard for me to care about endgame, which is really rough, and you just get punished so badly for not pulling for certain units, man. Like, dude, I'm sorry, I just don't like Robin, she was boring in the story, and I don't like Tribby because I don't like kid characters. I feel like adding a lot of 4-star alternatives to a lot of teams, that would honestly solve so many issues. Like, dude, Hunt March 7th was a good character. Mortza also got the job done really well around his release. It just feels like whenever you pull for one character, you have to pull for the rest of their quote-unquote puzzle pieces, but by the time that those puzzle pieces rerun, or that DPS reruns if you missed them on their first banner, they've already fallen off, so investing into them would just kind of feel like a waste. I really do think, though, that investing into the crazy good characters is the only real way that you can realistically keep up with this game's meta, and I'll be honest, I really don't think the title of Emanator has that much bearing because it feels like everyone and their mother is an Emanator. Bro, Merlin's Claw is an Emanator. Facia came out in 2.5. Acheron came out in 2.1. She was also an Emanator. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that both Robin and Sunday are Emanators of the Harmony. And if they're not Emanators, then they're just heavily linked to those powers. And I guess you could make the argument that all the characters that I just listed are really strong. And yeah, okay, fair enough, I can't really rebuke that. But the main point I'm trying to make here is that I don't even think it really matters what their story title is. I think it's just which one is the hyped one that Hoyoverse is really biased towards. That one will probably be good in a year from now. But what do you think about all of this? Is there a particular way that you like to deal with Honkai Star Rail's power creep? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week every week on Saturday, starting from 3 PM UK time. Come along so we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZ, and do some other fun stuff together. Hopefully this video was able to feed you some food for thought in regards to how anyone is supposed to realistically keep up with this game. This has been Juice, signing out, and I'm just gonna lock in for Mightymost and Kevin, man. They are both two very beautiful, attractive men. That's all I really care about at this stage.